Hello, my name is Shauna Parton, and welcome to my coming out party. I thought, what better way to celebrate my 15 years of surviving with leukemia than a coming out party? Yes, I have cancer, and this is probably very shocking even to people that have known me for a long time. So I would love to share my story today. It's a good story. I would have to say that the day that I was diagnosed with leukemia was one of the best days of my life. And I know that sounds really crazy, but please just let me explain. I truly believe that the universe goes out of its way to send us a message, and I've been very fortunate over the last 15 years to receive some life-changing messages. I would love to share that information with you today. Okay, so I will begin my story. It started a very long time ago in my not-so-beaver cleaver childhood, where I grew up with an unmotherly mother. My father was murdered and my stepfather was abusive. It was a bad lifetime story. So I decided to take my very hard-earned accounting degree and run for it. And I thought, what better place to heal from this dysfunctional childhood than San Diego, California, the city of fun and sun. And I had a lot of friends that were helping me during this healing process. I had my very good friend Jose Cuervo and his friend Jack Daniels. You might know these friends. I like to call this healing process my 7-year spring break. During this 7-year spring break, a friend of mine and I decided to run a marathon. And there was a marathon raising money for the Leukemia Society that was in Hawaii. So perfect. It was a win-win. Yes. The universe has a crazy sense of humor as well. I was diagnosed with leukemia while I was training for a race to raise money for the Leukemia Society. I can't make this stuff up. I was exhausted and not feeling great, and I kept going back to see my doctor, whose name was Joan Collins. In my early 20s, I did think it was a great idea to choose my doctor because her name was Joan Collins, but that may not have been a great idea. So Joan Collins thought it was hormonal, and so for a year she just gave me some different prescriptions and wasn't really worried about it. She finally decided to do a blood test just to see if I was anemic, or not really worried about anything. It wasn't very serious. So imagine my surprise when I was at my accounting job and she called me and said, I need you to come to my office immediately. So I was 25 in the middle of my spring break, hanging out with Jack and Jose, and she called to tell me that there was something wrong with my blood test. I was freaking out. So I raced to her office, and she gave me the diagnosis. She said that I had leukemia. And at that point in my life, I had no idea what that meant. I didn't even know what it was. So there was kind of a sense of relief at the immediate moment. I am now a vat of knowledge about leukemia. I know a lot about it. 15 years in, I know a lot about the diagnosis. I have a form of leukemia called CML, which is chronic myelogenous leukemia. Leukemia is a blood-related cancer. And I have to say that that diagnosis 15 years ago changed so many things about my life and taught me a lot of really important things. So I'd love to share those with you today. One of the first life lessons that I learned after my diagnosis is that your perception becomes your reality. And I truly believe this to the core of my being, that what you really believe creates a whole different reality in your life. From the time I've been diagnosed, I haven't really spoken about it much. I don't think that I really associated with it. I didn't believe it. At the time, like I said, I was 24, 25. I was super healthy. I was training for a marathon. And then I had someone tell me that I had a life-threatening disease. And I still didn't feel bad. I was a little bit tired, but I didn't feel bad. So a good friend of mine said, I don't think it's true. She said, I don't think you have this. I don't think it's true. And I really grabbed onto that. I thought, you know what? I'm not going to live my life as a cancer patient. I'm not going to live my life as a victim. I'm just going to get up and just keep moving on. I didn't want it to define me or be who I was as a person. So I started an experimental medication that was approved just months before I was diagnosed. That they had no idea, what the outcome would be with this medication. At that time, the only real cure was a bone marrow biopsy, which isn't a fun option at all. So I started the experimental medication, and 6 months after my diagnosis, I ran a half marathon with the Leukemia Society. So I truly, truly believe that your perception has a huge impact on your reality. And the second lesson, huge life lesson that I believe came from this experience, came to me when they told me that I would most likely only have 3 to 5 years to live. At that time, this was the set time that they believed a person with CML could survive. Not a fun bit of information to hear when you're only 25 years old. That really taught me that tomorrow is not really guaranteed for any of us. I was living my life thinking nothing of it. We all know when we're in our 20s, we just think we have forever. And here was a diagnosis telling me that I could potentially only have 3 to 5 years to live. At that time, I really thought about my life. I worked as an accountant. I hated my job every day. I would try to think of reasons to call in sick on a regular basis because I didn't enjoy my work. And I realized at that time that I was not going to spend every day of my life going to a job that I did not enjoy. There's something completely soul draining about not finding joy in the job that you do every day and what we spend hours and hours of our time doing. So at that time, I quit my accounting job and I went back to cosmetology school, which I don't know if I ever would have been brave enough to do had I not had this diagnosis. And so that was a huge life-changing message for me, and it helped me make a decision that I had always wanted to make, but I was too scared to do. And then the third life lesson, which is something that is truly at the core of who I am right now, is that you have to love the body you're given. This is it. You get one temple. This is your body. And that experimental medication has been amazing for me. It's worked for 15 years. They had no idea, like I said, how long it would work or, what it would do. I, constantly kind of live in anxiety because it is a pretty harsh medication. It's a type of chemotherapy that I've been on for 15 years now, so I've always been worried about what it's doing. I know it's controlling the leukemia, but is it hurting the rest of my body? And that's given me a lot of anxiety over the years. So I would say for the last 5 years, I have really focused on truly healing, not with the help of Jack and Jose, but physically, mentally, spiritually, truly working on healing and treating my body like a temple and feeding it good food and taking supplements and meditating and doing everything I can to make sure that even though I'm still on this medication, the rest of my body is still strong and healthy. And in light of that, I'm in this crazy place. I've learned recently that several other cancer patients who are on this medication have been going through some testing, and they've been trying to find out if the medication has been a cure. So 50% of the people that they've started testing have actually found out that they were able to go off the medication and their body was healing themselves. So there's really nothing I want more than to be cured, to not have to take this medication, to have my body be functioning and truly healed. So at this time, and I'm making this video, it has been 6 weeks since I have taken the medication, and my numbers are actually lower than they were when I was on the medication. So I believe that all of the work I have been doing to heal my body are working, and that I am 6 weeks into being cancer-free. So I just hope that these lessons are helpful, that somebody can take these lessons and not have the tragedy and not have the crazy diagnosis to deal with, but be able to realize that life is short. We get this one shot and we got to do everything we can to find happiness. So thank you for your time today.